So this is our last group of 4 that we have here. And this first image it's not properly named. Okay, so you can see the file name here is Moody, and the second file name is Portrait. So neither of those are going to work for your file names, because then when I go back to look at my list of names in front of me, I can't see whose image this is. So both of these images are really similar in the approach, right? They're both the same guy, which is the point of the assignment, indoors in personal space, not indoors in an office space and then indoors at a gym. He's indoors in his personal space for both of these, and kind of is in the same emotional state. So we're not getting a different view of what this person is. We're not seeing him in a documentary light and then in a fine art light. They're very similar. And then technically speaking, both of these images are shot with really high ISOs at 1600, so you're going to want to bring that down. As we look closer, we can see that digital noise is just really clear throughout, how the skin doesn't have an even tonality to it. So bringing down that ISO will be key. And part of that means that when you're shooting indoors, you want to shoot during the day, and you want to open up all the windows so you can still utilize that outdoor light that's going to be a little bit stronger. All right, and then we have 2 images here from Jasmine. Here you're at ISO 3200, so really high ISO, just like we saw in the other image. And what we see with a high ISO when we're looking at, that's a little bit too big there, color images is this gradient where we have yellows and greens and reds coming in on the skin. So we see that often on mid-tone, so her skin, her neck there, her chest. You're going to see it down in these areas. Those mid-tones are where we're really going to see that. So some cameras can handle higher ISOs. Here we can see, just by looking at your image with it being at the regular size, not even zooming in, that your camera cannot handle this high of an ISO, so you need to bring that down. 24 millimeters, really wide, f5.6, 1/20th of a second. Those settings all look fine. And that 1/20th of a second, we're not seeing any movement here. It does look like the focus is a little in front of your subject, but the focus is more on the arm than it is on the face. So making sure that you're setting your point of focus. I don't know if you're using autofocus or manual focus. And either are really okay, but if you're using autofocus, we want to make sure that you're setting your focal points for your image. So here we have this woman, and she's ironing in her bedroom, sitting on her bed. Like, this is as personal of a space as we can get, right? And then in this next image, she's outdoors, still kind of in personal space. Looks like she's journaling, smoking a cigarette, has her drink next to her. So this is a similar kind of feel. So again, what we want to push this assignment, we want to push on you to show like 2 different sides of the same person. So you can do that by changing the way that you're photographing: fine art, documentary, commercial, wedding. What else do we have? Like corporate, editorial, beauty. Those are our different types of photography, but also just showing her in a different light. So maybe she's working in a business suit in one image, and then she's at home ironing on her bed in the other image. Or here she's outdoors and she's journaling, and that's one side of her personality. And maybe the other side is that she is, I don't know, like working a construction job or something you really would not expect of her. So something like that, showing those 2 different sides of someone, is really where we want to push this assignment. And then we have these last 2 images from Chris. And Chris, thanks for getting these in. I know you had some issues with your camera. So this is his roommate, and he's outside photographing him. You're at ISO 100, 29 millimeters, f3.5 at 1/1250th of a second, really fast shutter speed. Now, we've talked a lot about not shooting in midday light, and this is more evening light. This is 5 o'clock, so it's coming in at an angle, not straight above, but this is really hard light that he's using. And I want you all to see how you can utilize hard light by just changing the direction of your subject, changing the way he's facing, because he's looking into the bright light, the light's really pleasing on him, right? Opposed to having him look the opposite way and be backlit and have weird shadows on his face, or even if he was looking like towards these trees, right? That would be very strange shadows on his face. So as we talk about the time of day to shoot, this is great because this is later in the day, but it's still bright, hard light, and you can still utilize that by changing the way that your subject's facing. And Kris, you do a great job of that here. What he also does is changes our point of view. So instead of seeing the sidewalk probably that's right behind the subject, we're seeing him compared to these trees. And we see these trees as like very stable and in order and strong, right? And that's relating back to his subject. So he's echoing kind of in our subconscious this idea of the subject and those the strength of those trees. There are a couple like branches coming in that are a little distracting. This branch and then this leaf here are a little distracting. Little things overall. This is a really strong image. And then here, are we in the same clothes? I feel like if the same image was shot just with a different shirt on, like if he had a collared shirt on, this would show a different personality side of him, right? Because this is a very formal setting. We're seeing the repetition. We're still seeing the strength of the building behind it, but we're seeing the structure and the repetition as we move back and we have all of those columns. And that's going wide over him, and then he's smaller in the bottom. So really by changing that point of view from him being smaller or him being larger in the other image changes our view on him. Again, the direction that you have him and facing the light is working really well here. And it's beautiful color of the light, again, that you're using here. Having him perfectly centered, having this set up as a very symmetrical image worked well for you. So great job on this.